Come, let us explore whether free will is a myth. Whoops, wrong button. This morning's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. The question begins, is there free will? And continues, based on what I understand on Mahayana views of karma, every good and bad thing that happens to a person in all of their decisions are a result of karma, repeating karmas in the present. Does this mean there is no free will? All right, so I would love to set you straight. My job is not to troll you. My job is not to act. It's not to treat you like a capybara who has fallen into an Amazonian tributary full of piranhas. I don't want to do that at all, but I'd like to help. So, according to the members of Mahayana patriarchy, everything we choose, everything we say, everything we do generates karmic momentum that will influence further choices, utterances, and deeds. This sounds innocent enough, doesn't it? However, when we ask the leading neuroscientists and physicists, they agree. There is no free will. If you have the time, I recommend the audiobooks Free Will by Sam Harris as an overview, and then Determined by Robert Sapolsky as a deep dive. And you'll see that free will is a myth forged by those with a surplus of power and privilege used to manipulate those who don't. So, but what has this to do with Buddhism? Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks. So we should therefore not be surprised when the majority of humans, no less Buddhists, no less Buddhist teachers, are proudly rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. But take heart, there will always be a minority of every group of humanity, of Buddhists, of teachers, who will relish being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. So typically, the rigid and the controlling and the cruel will use the myth of karma as an end run around compassion. Why? I don't have to feel bad for this shithead. He's simply sleeping in the bed that he made. That might sound pious, but it ain't what the Buddha taught. What did the Buddha teach? Good question. The essence of the entirety of Buddha's path is, of course, the Eightfold Path, 50% of which pertains to loving kindness. There is no mention here of karma or shitheads getting what they got coming to them. There's love and there's letting go. That's the Buddhist path. And so, if our worldview undermines our empathy, then it probably isn't serving us. So, good old Sam Harris is not only a neuroscientist, but he's also an enthusiast, a meditation enthusiast. And he says something really quite clever, which I will paraphrase horribly. The knowledge of the lack of free will makes it difficult to be arrogant. For we are but lucky bastards. The absence of free will makes it easy to have empathy. There, but for the grace of randomness go I. Some people will use a lack of free will and they'll call it fatalism and they'll say, well, I can't do anything about the situation I'm in. Well, here's the funny thing. We don't know exactly what we're destined for. We don't know exactly the karmics, the energetic or stream of causality that we find ourselves upon. But here's a funny thing. This might seem like I'm being self-serving. But if your karmic stream has allowed me to cross your path or someone like me, that may be a good sign. Although it might not mean you're the all-being master of time, space, and dimension, it might mean there are some things you may be able to do to improve your journey. I spy with my little eye a comment from my pal Jay. Un momento, I'm going to tap button 8. And Jay wrote, so kind intentions is the essence of the Bodhisattva vows. Could you go over the other vows whenever you can? Certainly. Think of it this way. So the essence of refuge vows from a certain point of view is simply this. Relying upon the Buddha's example instructions to students. The essence of Tantric Samaya, rely upon teachers, example instructions to students. Well, that's 2 out of 4. What's next? The essence of the Bodhisattva vow, as Jay so elegantly said, is kind intentions. At least dedicating our, whatever good vibes we've generated through spiritual practice, sharing that with all beings everywhere, that's excellent. The 4th would be the vows of refuge, which are simply the essence of morality. What is the essence of morality? Non-violence. Well, let's put it a different way. Un momento. Got to push the right button. I think it's number 5. Okay, so think of it this way. What is the essence of mental morality? Kind intention. What is the essence of interpersonal morality? Kind communication. What is the essence of physical morality? Kind conduct or non-violence. What is the essence of circumstantial morality? Kind commerce, or replacing competition and cruelty with compassion and kindness. And I should say cooperation. That would be much better. But it doesn't fit in. So now I must weep because it isn't pretty. So, and that's a really interesting way to spell it, don't you think? Okay. Now, if I'm clever, I will adjust this for future lessons. Perhaps I'm not. So there you go. The essence of all morality simply comes down to the Eightfold Path. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So let's get back to free will. So I'm going to tie this up in a big red bow. When I was a kid, I was taken to Disneyland and put on the Matterhorn ride. And there are different paths and different tracks for the Matterhorn cars to go through. Such is free will. It's like we're on a log ride we've got blindfolds on and we don't know where we're going. But while we're there, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to make the most of it. So here's the thing. The jet streams of causality are rather complex. For instance, there's the causality of intention, the causality of desire, the causality of opportunity, the causality of ability, and all these things appear to be in constant flux. I would say that we are already wired for empathy. but we're also wired for aggression. We're wired for concentration, but we're also wired for mindfulness. If you find yourself under the thrall of a teacher who emphasizes concentration, you'll be on a certain path. If you find yourself in the thrall of a teacher who emphasizes mindfulness, vulnerable, passive, visceral, random, and fleeting, then you'll probably find yourself on a different path. There are times when we are so rigid, it is as if we were blind. I spoke to an old friend who failed to escape who, although escaped a Christian cult, failed to escape a Buddhist cult. And she has been indoctrinated by them for more than 3 decades. And when her teacher died, I reached out to her in an effort to be kind to her and empathetic. But she couldn't hear that. All she could hear were attacks, even if they only existed between her own ears. Excuse me. So the jet streams of causality can affect our ability to perceive and reason and do all these things. So when we look at shitheads embracing fascism and jingoism and sexism and racism and classism, when we look at that through the lens of the jet streams of causality, it's easier to have empathy for them and to be grateful that we dodged somehow. We're in a position to dodge that bullet. So our job is to help others as best we can. And this is how centered spontaneity comes in. Because controlling tendencies pretend there is no causality. There is only me, master of time, space, and dimension. And I decree X, Y, and Z. Which, by the way, is a cruel song by Rush. But anyway, the humble man or woman says, I'm going with the flow, and I'm going to dance with centered spontaneity, and there will be times where I'm simply, for want of a better term, led to choose certain things or say certain things or do certain things. The foolish will be led by scattered spontaneity. The wise will be led by centered spontaneity. For instance, here's a great for instance, if I do say so myself as I pat myself on the back. I'm going to use first initials. My pal J has a dear person in his life whose first initial is K. K is loving and K is wise. And K wants to lavish J with sustainable and innocent sources of dopamine. And K is a fucking genius. And the very fact that J has K in his life is super fortunate. If we're lucky, we'll have at least one person in our life who is clever and loving, who wants what's best for us and has the intelligence to know their ass from a hole in the ground and knows what's probably better for us at least 8 times out of 10, which is pretty good. That is huge good fortune. Nobody does it alone. Jesus had 12 apostles. The Buddha had a bunch of students with him. Lao Tzu had the attendant at the gate. The great luminaries always had other people in their lives to help. And since you and I and everybody else are blind to the intricacies, the complexities of the jet streams of causality, We have to surf. It's like skateboarding downhill blindfolded. If we rely on scattered spontaneity, we're going to eat it. Our best bet is to rely on centered spontaneity, the kind that we cultivate through mindfulness and meditation. But here's the irony. Life is like being on a rather wide conveyor belt, and with every year that conveyor belt grows more and more narrow until eventually it comes to a terminus. I think the terminus is like 120 years old. Everybody's going to die. Everybody's going to become compost for the next generation of worms and flowers and lettuce and legumes. The meaning we have from our short and unpredictable and crazy lives is best found in love and letting go. To cultivate that, I would very much love to practice with you, together as a team. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friend, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So, quick like a bunny. Going to strive to click the right button in the right sequence. Please chant with me. Rather than indulge our controlling tendencies with the follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuse metaphors for statements literal, and relax into the flexibilities that save us the chance explaining metaphors as similes. And of course, I read that, in my mind I'm hearing murals as metaphors, and I start rocking out to Rage Against the Machine. Please chant with me. So this is going to be a metaphoric preliminary practice, exploring the intricacies of change and interdependence. All visible circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. Please notice how we are using the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence, the verb absorb as a metaphor of interdependence, how we are replacing the hard verb is with the gentle verb phrase could be. And the irony of transcending self-centeredness by visualizing self-centeredness, i.e., all circumstances melting into this body. It seems counterproductive, but this will actually help us transcend the absurdity of egocentrism. So we're going to take all these words and squish them down into 6 syllables, which we're going to divide between our inhalation and our exhalation. So one moment. Turn this into a rhetorical question. Let's go over here. Let's make that into a bold and add an accent. And let's add a question mark. Here we go. And remember, this is a rhetorical question. One, two, three. Here we go. That's our magic phrase right now. Please chant with me. How could sensual bodies or forms be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech? How could resounding interpersonal speech be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind? All lucid minds could be as you know what? I think a rainbow would be really appropriate there. So one moment while I do a quick visual edit or a graphics edit. Let's see. I'm going to hit pictures. Going to hit Buddhist yoga. Going to hit. Let's go to Dorje Sumpa and Tikle. And that's not it. Okay, let's go back to straight Tikle. And let's use this bad boy. So I'm going to hit wrap text behind text and do the old slider ringy. That's what he said. Oh, close enough for government work. Excellent. All lucid minds could be as impermanent and interdependent. Oh, let's try this again. How could lucid minds be as impermanent and interdependent? As if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. Oops. Quick like a bunny, we're going to hit insert, and we're going to throw in this. And now the main attraction, let us bring whatever we spontaneously notice into the path of awareness and release. So we're going to begin by working with, gently inviting real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in our crown chakra. How do we do that? So the power of our knuckles. By taking the tip, let's make sure that everything's on camera here. By taking the tip of our left index finger and tracing it down the back of our right index finger until we come to the great knuckle. That's the first step. What you want to do is rest your hands in your lap so that the great knuckle of your right index finger is resting upon the tip of your left index finger. And that's the effortless way of practicing the Anu Yoga of energy work. Now let us practice by the way, because we just practiced the Maha Yoga of... so now we're going to play with the Ati Yoga of mindfulness and meditation. The most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation. Similarly, the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation. So, let us continue with our next exciting chapter of Fun with Fingers. So we could right now collect 96 rounds. What's a round? A round is one inhalation followed by one exhalation. And we can do that by counting 8 sets of 12 rounds or 12 repetitions. How do we count 12? Simple. On our right hand, during each inhalation, we can silently and mentally slide the tip of our thumb, beginning with our index finger to the first set of creases, and then the second set and the third set, making our way across until we come to the tip of our little finger. So let's do this right now. As silently and mentally we recite this ease. How do we count multiple sets? Simple. On our left hand, if we want to count 8 sets, we can start with our index finger. First set, second set, third set, fourth set, fifth set, sixth set, seventh set, eighth set. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. This is the Jigme version of hand jive. Kevin, my friend, welcome aboard. To you, I send a great big psychic hug and pelt you with imaginary kitty cats. Pelt, pelt, pelt. Can you feel the kitty cats? So Jay, this crease counting is really important in managing your energy and your vibes. So start with the index finger, work your way to the little finger. The left hand supports the right hand. I know this is a pain in the ass, but it's worth learning. Alrighty then. Ooh, here's a fun idea. Let's reduce this to 24. Let's go over here. All right, so we're switching gears now from the crown of the head to the heart. It's about thumb's width before the spine, about the level of your nipples. You don't have to visualize nothing. All you got to do is use the tip of your left middle finger to trace down the back of your right middle finger to the big old great knuckle at its base, and rest your hands in such a manner so that the great knuckle at the base of your right middle finger rests upon the tip of your gently upon the tip of your left middle finger, and cowabunga, you're plugged in. Remember, always start with your index finger and work your way to your little finger. Come on, coordination. Let's hit insert and find good old Ratnasambhava. Okay. So, returning to Anu Yoga's energy work, the most efficient way to gently coalesce our energy at our earth wheel, at our navel wheel. One thumb's width before our spine at the horizontal level of our navel is to use the tip of our left ring finger to trace the back of our right ring finger down to its great knuckle at its base. That was a redundant word choice. Then you want to gently, gingerly rest the great knuckle at the base of your right ring finger upon the tip of your left ring finger. Congratulations. You're plugged in, energetically speaking. Plugged in, energetically speaking, sounds like a euphemism for a very good date. If you've just joined us, the most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation. Similarly, the most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. You see, during each inhalation, our sympathetic nervous system is wired to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Help us perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, as well as emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Now, if that seems a little overwhelming, that's understandable. Fortunately, every time we exhale, thanks to the two aspects of our parasympathetic nervous system, we're able to physically relax and mentally release. We come to the fourth quarter of this morning's practice. All right. How do we play? So we by by touching by using the tip of our left little finger to trace the back of our right little finger, coming to the great knuckle at its base, and then resting our hands in our lap so that the great knuckle of the base of our right little finger rests gingerly upon the tip of our left. It helps the subtle energies to coalesce effortlessly into the secret wheel in our lower abdomen, approximately 1 thumb's width before our spine, and at the midway between our navel and our pelvis, approximately. That's right. Welcome to the lazy bastard path of enlightenment. One moment. Let us conclude by bringing the four bases of mindfulness: the circumstantial, the physical, the circumstantial. In this case, it's going to, the circumstantial, the mental, the interpersonal, and the physical into the path of love and release. May whole circumstances or lots of all beings now have the safety for May all circumstances of all loss. Well, I'm just all scrambled. May all circumstances or lots of all beings know have this safely fortunate or boon as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or body. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Mema Ziri Hung. 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 Un momento. May all clear minds of all beings know me as peacefully enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a clear one syllable zero bija mantra. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Mema Ziri Hung. 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 Om maziri hum. Om Ahum Benzo Guru me 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 maziri hum. May all relationships, all speech of all beings know be as joyfully loving as a real Ramajan Buddha speech symbolized by your horizontal Mala Mantra. Om Ahum Benzo Guru me maziri hum. 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 May all bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddha's statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Yadam archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. Om Ahum Benzo Guru me maziri hum. 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 Om If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's, or I should say tonight's, evening meditation and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.